Hey, what's up people, this is Procreate. My name is Joshua Dar and I'm an artist, and in this video I will be telling you how I draw characters. And I will start out by showing you how to come up with a good pose for your character, then go into sketching and into line art, and finally into coloring and rendering. How do you come up with a good pose for your character? There's a couple of things you want to consider when coming up with a pose, and the first one is, who is your character? Now I know this might seem a little obvious, but I don't mean things like, what does the character's body look like? Is he fat? Is he muscular? Is he skinny? What does his jaw look like? Is his nose broken? Things like that are really not important at this point. What is important is, what is his personality? Is he furious? Is he serious? Is he sad? Is he lazy? Is he ignorant? Is he arrogant? Is he funny? Is he goofy? Is he happy? Things like that, because that is always conveyed through the body, through the posture, through the pose of the character. So in this case I'm going with a happy, goofy character. You can see me drawing like really dynamic and activated and loud poses, which will convey that emotion and which is like the base of every character design. Now the second thing is accessories, and I know this kind of contradicts what I just said, that all of that stuff is not important at this point. If the accessory is part of the pose, then of course you should think about it now. Like for example, I have my character hold this makeshift snowboard and he's holding it like this behind his head, and that makes it like part of his pose. And the tip I have at this point is really to choose an accessory that also underlines and speaks for the first one, the personality of the guy. Like my character is goofy and stuff, so he would be the one to like build himself a snowboard, while a more serious or like regal character would have, for example, a horse instead, or while a lazy character would have a cup of tea that he's drinking, and a warrior type of character would have a sword or something. I'd really have that accessory underline who they are. And the third thing you want to consider is, what is this drawing for? For me, I went with a classic old character design. That's why I needed him to kind of be standing upright and not have him in a motion or a dynamic pose where parts of his body are covering up other parts of his body. But if you're, for example, drawing this drawing for a page of a graphic novel or something, then you want these dynamic scenes, because you're not drawing this character to show off who this character is, but you're drawing him in a scene where something's happening. So yeah, keep that in mind. What are you drawing this for? And if you're drawing a classic old character design like I am doing, then you should probably choose a pose where he's not covering up anything of his body, so that no design element gets lost in the pose. Now this makes it a little trickier to still convey who he is, his characteristics, his personality. So it's really all about that body posture. Is he standing upright, his chest out, is he confident, is he happy and stuff? In my case, this is it. He's like very motivated, his body is tense, he's like ready to run off at any moment. But if you're drawing a more depressed or lazy character, you would have the shoulders slouching, for example. In my drawing, the legs are spread, which is more like a confident stance, while somebody else would have like the legs crossed maybe. There's still a lot you can do with this pose where you're showing all of the body. You can even have him lean or something, like relax. So there's still a lot you can do, but just make sure not to cover anything of the body up with the body itself. So basically I have the sketch of the pose that I just drew, and then over that I sketch clothing, and I go through a bunch of different designs, try out a bunch of things, and one tip I would give for this is to always have contrast in there. Contrast is interesting for the eye, it attracts attention, and it kind of mixes up the whole thing, so you can have contrast in color. We're going to get to the coloring stage later, but you can also have contrast in size for your clothing. So in my case, my character is like from northern Scandinavia, something like that, so he has to wear very big, warm, furry clothing. But I still make very conscious decisions not to have all of his clothing like big and stuff. And one reason is because I still want his body type to be clear, like he's not a big fat dude who's just wearing thin clothing. I want it to be clear that he's a skinny dude who's wearing big clothing. Also, the other reason is that I want the contrast in there. So I give him a big fat jacket, but I have it end right before his wrist, and his glove only start right after his wrist. So we still have that little section here to show that his wrist actually isn't that fat. And the same goes for his legs. It's probably not the most practical thing to have like thin pants on if it's very cold, but still I wanted to give him that to show that his legs in fact are not fat, and also to give that contrast between the big fat jacket and the big fat boots and have like a thin part in between. It is very hard to make these tutorials because of course everything in art always is interlocking and overlapping, and this process is huge. I will have to make multiple YouTube videos, but it's very important that you comment below what you would wish to see in a video, what you think I should go more in depth in, what I should make a video about that I didn't mention. Let me know what you would like to see down below. And while we're on the subject, also go like, subscribe, ring the bell, stuff like that. It really supports me, lets me know what you want to see. So after trying out all the clothing options that I wanted to try out, I combined all the aspects that I like most into one single sketch layer. And this is still a rough sketch layer, so most people would add a layer over that, do another sketch layer, and then add a layer over that, maybe do another one, who knows, and then only add a layer over that and do the final line art layer. And this is where I'm different. This sounds so arrogant, I'm different. No, but this is where I go a different route, and because I just go in straight with my inking brush and kind of sketch it in over my sketch again, and then from there I kind of have this sculpting process where I take away from the lines with my eraser and add in again with a pencil and eraser, pencil and stuff. And I like the freedom, the flexibility that gives, and it kind of creates the sketchy rough look. I think a great example to see what I mean is by taking a look at the face, because in my process I don't take a look at the face at all before going into this stage. I might sketch in a placeholder for the expression, but it's not really anything. I don't even try to like draw anything good into there. That is only when I come to this stage that I draw the face in. And with this face I wanted to do something that I hadn't really done before. I wanted him to look like he could be that like epic kind of warrior character. I didn't want him to have like that goofy look, even though he is a goofy character, because again, I like contrast and I like trying out new stuff, and I like having unexpected things. Like if you would see this guy, maybe you would think he's very like serious and stuff, but then he's actually pretty goofy. And I hope this is making sense. And another thing I wanted to try is to have him have a beard, but his face not to be round. Like again, this is a skinny character, and I wanted his face to show that. But what beards do to people is that they make the face look rounder usually. Like if you Google pictures of men with beards, and then usually it just seems like their faces are rounder. But that is not always the case, and so far I'd only drawn people with beards that are more like that Gimli kind of stereotypical Hagrid character, that are a little more chubby and a little, I don't know, goofy as well I guess, but not the type that I wanted in here. Like I didn't want it to look like that. So that's why I just experimented. Like I just kept adding in and taking away again until I had that face that I wanted to have, with those like high cheekbones and long face and small forehead, and yeah, it just worked out really well. I'm really happy with the face, and I think this is a really good example for my style and what I do. Now, the line art is done and we're moving on to the last stage, the coloring and rendering of the piece. At this point, a lot of people have really cool rendering of their pieces. Like they have like realistic lighting, and especially if you look at like American comics, they have really cool lighting techniques in there and shading techniques. And I don't really like to do that much, even though it looks really cool. It's just not what I like to do, because I either like to do digital paintings, which is like going all the way, or when I do these more comic book character designs, I only like to go like a tiny step of the way. And I really want to do a video on this, like digital art versus digital drawing. I'm really interested in doing that, and let me know if you're interested in that, by the way, in the comments. But even though I only go a tiny step of the way, there is one little trick that you can do too that will still make it look really cool and like make it pop and stuff, and that is gradients. And a lot of people use this, but it's not something that you usually notice immediately unless you know it's there. Like for example, here you see me, I have this jacket which is only flat brown, and then I select that jacket and put a gradient with a big airbrush from that dark brown to a lighter brown onto there, and that already makes such a big difference. It makes it come so much more alive because nothing you see is really one color, and putting a gradient on there is just a really easy way to indicate lighting. And then I also go a bit further. I take the color picker and pick the darkest color from the jacket, and then I add in the shading with the darkest color, and then I pick the lightest color from the jacket and add in the lighting on the jacket, and that is really all there is. And that is just a really easy way. Like, that is basically it. It is a fully rendered piece. I go in and add some texture over there. I throw a gradient in the background as well. Usually I put like a warm off-white in the background. In this case I took a cool off-white, like a bluish color, because he's obviously from like Scandinavia or something, like from the snowlands, so there would be more of a cool color like ice and snow. But that is basically it. Like, really easy and also really satisfying to do this coloring, and doesn't take a lot. You don't have to learn any like color theory and stuff like that. I would still encourage you doing that, but you don't need it for this necessarily. It's a cool little trick to make your coloring cool. Alright. And with that, we are done. And yeah, this was a really fun process to share just my process with you, and I had a lot of fun. Leave your thoughts below if you had a lot of fun too. Comment, like, subscribe, stuff like that. I know nobody wants to hear it, but it really helps me out. And again, let me know what you would like to see more tutorials on. It's really good to know what people are interested in, so I can help out where I can with the experience that I have. And it's a lot of fun doing this. I'm definitely gonna do more tutorials. Before I was like, oh, okay, I don't want to do this. This is just the way I do it. This doesn't mean that I can teach other people how to do it. But in the end, watching these kind of videos always helps me, so I hope I can just help out a little bit. And with that, thank you so much for watching. I love you all, and bye. See you in the next video.